So, hi everyone, welcome to tonight's healing circle. I am really beyond excited to have you guys here and also to have my hi everyone, guest speaker with me. And I'll introduce Effie in just a moment. But tonight, I just want to kind of set the setting, set the mood, okay? Tonight is a space for you to receive, to soften, and to simply just be. Because this is a healing circle. Just take a moment to arrive, to ground into this space and open to what's here for you. Just take a breath. Take a nice big deep breath in through our nose and blow it out through your mouth. And go ahead and do that a couple more times as you wish. Nice and slow and easy. I want you to just soften your body and relax. Let your shoulders drop, unclench your jaw. Let yourself just be. There's nowhere else you need to be right now. Nothing you need to figure out. Nothing you need to get right. You don't have to perform tonight. You don't have to push. You don't have to prove anything. Tonight, you get to receive. So sit back, relax, and allow yourself to be part of this experience. Joining us tonight is Effie Linke. It's so great to have you here, Effie. So Effie is a professional medium, psychic, and mentor coach. She does truly beautiful work. I know that. I've known her for quite a few years. She does beautiful work in supporting people through coaching and mentorships, helping them grow in their abilities, build confidence, and really step into what they were meant to do here. One of the things I personally love about her work is the way she speaks about mediumship, not just as a skill, but as something that creates real healing. And I share that belief with her. It is the bridge between the two worlds in a way that is deeply meaningful and impactful to our lives. Tonight, Effie's going to be sharing a personal development with your personal self-development with your mediumship. So sorry I'm messing this up, Effie, which is such an important piece. Thank you. And honestly, something we can all continue to grow in. I'll be dropping Effie's contact information in the chat so that you guys can have it. But before I do that, I'm just going to turn the mic over to Effie and take away her co-host privileges, revoke co-host privileges. There you go, my dear. Take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, Christy. That was very touching, your introduction, and right back at you. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. Lots of familiar faces, and nice to see everyone again. I missed quite a bit of you, seeing you in circles and practices. And now that spring's coming, maybe we'll start to practice all over again in our development. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about tonight is it is personal development. It is a little bit of my story of when I started to develop as a medium. And it is something very, very dear to my heart because when I first started, I knew that I was a medium. There was no one that could take this away from me. The conviction was very, very, very strong. I wasn't second guessing or asking or uh, turning around. Is this really not a real world? Is this just a fraction the planet Earth? Is there something more out there? I knew this. I just knew I could do this, and I knew I was a medium. But what I didn't know is the amount of work that I had to do internally inside before I can fully blossom to my potential. And when I say blossom to my potential, I'm always going to be continuously developing. I'm always going to be continuously doing self-development work internally. So as I started to sit in the power, I started to notice some emotions that were coming up inside me. And those emotions were something that I maybe a long time ago I did not want to touch into, or I did not want to go into, or I didn't really fully understand what was happening inside. So those first couple of years, my mediumship was purely mechanics. And I thought that was good. Actually, I thought I was a good medium. If anything, above all, I thought I was great. But that was my ego speaking at the end of the day. So my mechanics were there. I had worked really, really, really hard on my mechanics. But what I was not working was my own soul inside to really feel the experience that was coming in when I was beginning to blend with the spirit world. And what I was really doing was making my own interpretations of what was happening and not fully surrendering. And we're going to hear that a lot as we move into our journeys, surrender, surrender. And I would ask myself, what is that? What is surrender? How do I surrender? How do I move into this place of surrender? And do I need to move into surrender? And as I to go back a couple of steps to the sitting in the power and the emotions that were beginning to come up, I was afraid to go back into the past to look within as to why this was beginning to come up. And the sitting in the power, the longer and longer the sessions became, the more deeper inside I was beginning to move. And I knew there was a point in time that I knew that if I needed to go back into my past and to work on some things that I had not worked on, that I had completely disregarded or thought that everything was okay, but really it wasn't. And I took some time off and I didn't practice, I didn't do anything mediumship. I just took that time off for myself to move into that space of awareness of what was happening within. And it wasn't always negative. There were some positive um, feelings that were coming up. And as I began to peel, you will hear this, the layer of the onion, moving deeper and deeper inside into my soul, I started to see things that I had forgotten a long time ago. But what really happened, I started to see, is that it was always there. It's always in my conscious. It's always in my superconscious. It was time to start to work on work on those feelings. And I knew I had the choice whether I wanted to or not. But if I didn't move into that space, this is my own personal journey, I could not surrender. I could not blend the way I should be really blending. I could not move into the space of feeling the spirit world come blend into my soul. And the mechanics only took me so far. I had to start building my own clairsentience inside. I had to really start to go into my personal self development and really start to work within. And that was hard work. That was a lot of hard work. And as I started to slowly move deep within and to do the hard work, uh, I started to notice a shift starting to happen where I became a softer person. I became someone where I started to see things, a different perspective came within me. I started to also notice my an energy shift within me where compassion started to build in. This love started to come up inside me where I can see things in a different light than I did a year or two ago. And that was because I was doing the hard work internally inside. That hard work to feel what I was feeling, and it could feel what I was feeling, and it was all coming, believe it or not, from sitting in the power, sitting in this chair beside me that I'm sitting on. Years and years of therapy could not move me into the space. It was sitting in the power that moved me into that space to begin to uncover what was deep within. And along this journey, and as I was beginning to go deeper and deeper, I thought that there were moments that I had worked on things that were okay, I'm done. I worked on it. Things are good. Now I can finally go back to my mediumship. Now I can finally start to move and practice and develop in a certain way. Not so. Not so. The more and more I began to heal internally, the more things started to come up. And that wasn't a bad thing, I started to see. I took this, I was brave, I was courageous. And as I started to move even deeper into the onion, into that exile, another layer would come up. And moving into those layers of the onion and really beginning to find out what it was, how to forgive myself, how to maybe forgive others. I started to see also the love that started to come inside me as a person. And I started to feel like this love that was within me, I started to really love myself inside purely as a soul and see everybody else out there and forgive them. But most importantly, I had to forgive myself first. And as I forgive myself first, it easily became naturally to forgive others. And also within this is I started to see my mediumship shift. My reading started to shift. I wasn't afraid to be vulnerable anymore. I wasn't afraid when I was receiving the no's, when I was hesitant. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel so stuck inside when someone is challenging me? What is happening here? I knew those were the moments deep within that I had to stop and say, what is going on here? Because it wasn't about the reading, it wasn't about the sitter, it was about me. And I went inside and I started to feel that exact moment when they either said no or there was a reaction within me or I became reactive. And maybe it was my ego that was a part of it too. And I would go within and I do a lot of reflection. And journaling was one of them too. And I'm the person that does not want to journal. And I will say it loud and clear, journaling is not for me. This is for somebody else. For me, I don't want to journal. So, and we just started. You can see how much has happened. And the journaling was another piece where I had to come to terms with it that that was what worked for me, and it may not work for you. It could be music, it could be sound baths, it could be going to therapy, it could be working with other modalities. But for me, a part of my self development was journaling. So during the readings, I started to really take notice and being very, very conscious when I was receiving a no, or when I was feeling reactive, or feeling also when my ego was taking over. I would pause and stop and sit with it and reflect what was happening. And those were the moments that were key for me. And as I was starting to write in my journal, automatically feelings, other emotions started to come. It became like a natural, automatic writing for me. And sometimes I'd be writing pages and pages and pages. And as I was writing pages and pages and pages, the tears would start to fall. And as they were beginning to fall, I started to see how much I needed, how much this personal development was so needed for my soul. And it's going to be continuously evolving my own journey with personal development. I would take those pieces of paper and I would put them to the side, and I wasn't ready to really review them or look them over until it was, I felt it was right. So a couple months later, I would by chance, I felt the nudge to take over my book and look over all what I had written. And I had noticed some very pivotal moments within the journal writing. And there were some areas that were very, very, very personal. that I had not spoken to anybody about in my entire life, but I had actually written it, not even realizing I had written it. And as I was writing, as I was reading and reading and reading and seeing the power behind my words and how healing it was reading what I had written months ago, going, wow, that was a discovery for my own soul to see how much I was beginning to, I'll use the word blossom, develop, or just shift into another area of my life. All the personal self development, I needed to also see that the mechanics were just, as I said, a part of it. The mechanics that I was working on was just a part of it. It wasn't the entire thing. And what I started to see is that mechanics took me so far, and it wasn't even, it was maybe 80% of my mechanics is, sorry, switch it around. Mechanics could, it was 20%. As I started to really surrender into my readings, really move into it, really stop interpreting it, that is when I noticed the huge shift in my development. And I started to, it wasn't just being vulnerable, it wasn't being afraid, it wasn't being ashamed or embarrassed to be reading. I had to get comfortable in my own way where I can just begin to read and the spirit tuning in into what exactly they wanted to say to their loved one, not what I wanted to say, not my interpretation, uh, not filtering words, not moving into psychic. It was just absolutely surrendering and feeling the power of the soul that is coming in and blending with me and unfolding the story the way they wanted to say to the loved one. Some key words I started to hear from my own mentors was, if I had passed to the other side and I had the last words where I had with one of my loved ones were not the most positive and the next day I'd passed, I would hope that the medium that they would go to, that they were developed enough, that they would be able to say exactly what I wanted to say to that loved one. And I started to also see how powerful my words, not my words, but surrendering the healing that that was happening with the client or the sitter when I began to fully surrender. And sometimes I used to say that I needed to blend with two or three or four spirits. That was a great reading. Or I would get names and go, wow, that's a name. That's amazing. I got names, I got places, I got dictionary, I got things. And I thought, wow, look, I'm great. But really, I wasn't. I wasn't inside. Because the power I, within the readings, I started to see was when I surrendered and said exactly what they wanted to say. Sometimes the readings only lasted 15 minutes, and that's all it was. And that was enough for the sitter. That's all they needed to hear. Sometimes it was two or three spirits coming in. Sometimes it needed to turn into a psychic reading or blend both with a psychic and a mediumship. A lot of that had to do with me surrendering. And you're gonna hear this word quite often tonight, the word surrender. And there were also times where I would be judging myself in my readings because I didn't think I gave enough evidence, because that is what mediumship is all about, the evidence and proof from the spirit world. But who was I to say that? Who was I to judge that? Because there were some incredibly powerful moments in some readings where I have said maybe less than 50 words, and that was all the spirit person, the sitter needed to hear, the client. And that was enough for them. And the rest of the reading turned into a 20-minute consultation or just talking about their life and their effect of and their relationship that they had uh, with their loved one on the other side. There were also moments where they would I would see them one of the very first things that we would sit down, and they just needed to hear proof. You know, they knew that there was something bigger on the other side, but they weren't too sure what it was. And a loved one had passed and they wanted to connect with them. And it could have been only 5 or 6 sentences. And That's all they needed to hear. I didn't need to go into a full-blown reading for them. So that was also my intuition I needed to start trusting, because I had also a script of things had to be like this, not really realizing that I have no control of what's going to happen. I don't know which direction the reading's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen today within the reading. So many things can blossom from the reading. It could also turn into a psychic reading. And being able just to move to the side and allow the spirit person to blend and say exactly what they wanted to say. A lot of that shifted when I did my personal self-development work inside. And seeing also within my own soul some of the areas I had to work on inside. Some of that had to do with my ego. And my ego was, I wasn't, I wasn't fully impressed with my ego, who I was becoming, and where that came from. And I didn't really like it. And I had to become honest with myself. And that was another word for me, being honest and authentic. Because to fully become a medium, I knew that being honest, transparent, uh, also knowing that I may not be the medium for every single person out there. A lot of information in a short period of time. But when you start to become a medium, and if you choose to become professional and you don't need to, you can be open to any other modalities that it can turn into. The personal self-development work is one of the key areas to look within, because really that is where I saw I saw the shift in my soul begin to improve in my own transformation. I started to see this butterfly begin to open up her own wings and really begin to fly out there and just love the entire world. But it was because I loved myself inside now. I was beginning to love my heart more than anything. And it really, I wanted to start to collaborate and connect with other mediums, with my tribes, and knew that we were all interconnected in one way or another on this earth. I also started to see that not everybody was very happy the work that I was doing around me. These are my loved ones. And having the courage to move and step away, because at this time I knew who I was. So there were friends, there were family that did not accept what I did. But because I had done that internal work deep down inside, I knew I could step into my own power. I knew that there was something bigger out there, and it wasn't about me anymore. And it wasn't about them. I had to accept me for who I was and be able to walk away from relationships and be okay with it. And that was also very, very challenging. But when I got to that place and to be able just to step away and know that I was going to be okay and just to trust, another level, another transformation began to evolve. So as you can see, I was continuously evolving, but it wasn't within the mediumship. It was my own personal self-development inside. And guys, it's not always, as I said at the beginning, negative. There was a lot of positive moments in in my journey. I have met some amazing mediums in my life. Some of you are sitting right here on the screen with me right now, and all of you. I have met some beautiful souls where we connect on a regular basis, who I learn also from them and they learn from me. And at the same time, knowing that this work that we're doing, it's a miracle. It's a miracle that we can do this. To be able to say that I am a medium and to know that there is something bigger out there beyond this world is in fact a miracle, that we're even at this place to understand the logic behind it. And what is logic? I had to get the certainty beyond logic within my soul to know that there's something big out there, that this is just a minute place, just a stepping stone for us to learn, grow through our challenges. Because I know this is the toughest school on the planet. And I also understood that this is the places that we chose to come back to. And this is my own philosophy. Everybody will have their own um, philosophy on what this earth is. But to me, this is the toughest school. And only that, like the school of hard knocks. So the people that, the us to choose to come back here, we have to be tough souls because the density on this planet is thick. It is thick. So, and you'll know this because as you start to blend to the spirit world, you will start to, and we've all been there, where you will start to feel this love that is beyond our capacity. And there have been moments when I'm reading, when that love comes in and I can't hold it. It's too real. It's too strong, even for myself. So that is what it's like on the other side. And we just, and I think to myself, I'm just feeling a fraction of it. Imagine what it's really like. So the personal, I want to go back to the personal self-development for me was sitting in the power and really taking that religiously every single day. What I didn't expect from sitting in the power was healing. I was doing it for the mediumship to blend, but what it did is it shifted to another direction where emotions and feelings were coming up from the past that I had not dealt with. And those feelings, those memories that I had to go back into, I had forgotten a long time ago. And it was an opportunity for me to move into that space and start to discover who I really was. Who am I? What is my identity? And I took those brave steps. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to move into those places, but to surrender, I knew I had to. And I'm going to take a little pause here to open it up for some questions because that was a lot of information I gave in a short period of time.
Yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah. Effie, I'll just say I can really relate to what you're saying. And that point at which I found was so striking where you say that you felt that love and you couldn't contain it. So in that moment, like, how did you deal with that, those feelings when you were
Yeah,
reading?
great question. So within, depending, so if it's an actual client, a lot of practice readings to get to that place of the love. So what I don't want to do is break down in front of the client because they're
Mhm.
hiring us at the end of the day,
Right.
and we can't be a blubbery mess in front of them. So what I do is I start to train myself as that love came in and I could feel the tears begin to roll down. I'd pause inside and I could feel it come up and then I would just push it down. Now, if it's a practice reading, I would have more time to practice those emotions and be able to say, pause. I'm feeling something that I have to move into and take the time to shift. But the practice readings helped me when the clients came in and I started to feel that. I don't even know if that's Joanne, if that's even the right word. The purity, the authentic love that was coming in as it began to fill my soul and feel this beautiful, vibrant energy. The more open they are, we all know, the more they're going to feel this magnetism of love come in. The more
Alina, go ahead.
Hi, I just want to say thank you, Effie, for that was just so beautiful and heartwarming. And I was having trouble holding the tears in. All of it resonates with us, and we all go through everything. And I just want to say I so much appreciate your authenticity, your love. And I know that you come from love, and I know you come from authenticity already, because I know you somewhat, but it's very beautiful and very healing and transformative, enlightening, definitely enlightening, to witness somebody being very real and authentic, coming from that vulnerability, coming from their heart centers. And I thank you because I think we all received healing. We may not even realize it, but we sure did when you were talking about your healing in such a beautiful and authentic way. So I so appreciate your beautiful soul in this hard, hard school on earth because you help. You help, and I know you help so many, but I just appreciate you, and I want you to know that you're a beautiful soul, Effie. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for choosing
Thank
to
you,
be here
Helena.
at this time.
Another things to add, Helena, you just reminded me. I went back and I looked at all the people in my life who were positive or even negative or neutral, and I thanked every single one consciously inside for the lessons. I actually loved them so much for the lessons, for coming into my life and learning the lessons that I was supposed to be learning. And what I also started to see is if I did not learn that lesson, the same person, not the same person, but the same type of person they kept coming into my life. It could have been a teacher, it could have been a friend, it could have been a colleague, but it was the same lesson. And I would be thinking, didn't I just have that same situation with somebody else? And what was my reaction? What was my response? So I knew each time I had the same situation, there was something I needed to learn from. And it could have been my confidence. It could have been finding my voice. It could have been something where my boundaries, something was there. And when I moved into that place, and that was the courage of not being judged myself, that was one of the areas. I thanked that person and every single other person and loved them in a way where thank you so much because you have helped me with my own personal self-development inside. Totally understand. Thank you, Helena.
Absolutely.
Thing, Effie, that really made sense to me. Sometimes you meet people in life and you realize you don't want to be like that person. They teach you how you don't want to be, okay? But by the same token, what mediumship also has done, and this is for me personally, it's not easy to self-reflect. And I'm not even sure if understanding what you're saying is absolutely certainly a lot deeper than I've ever been able to dig into me. Because when I dig into me, I stop because it's hard. And
Definitely.
I really commend you for going the whole route because I think it's one of the hardest things for us to do is to look at ourselves because we think we're okay, that we understand. And intellectually, we might, or I might, but on an emotional level, or on a level that's going to change you, that's a place most of us, I'm one of them, don't want to go. But listening to you, it's obvious that those are the places that it's necessary to go to completely understand and get rid of whatever it is that is holding you. And sometimes you don't even know it. So thank you for sharing because it made me
Yes.
realize
Thank you.
myself how much I don't want to look at me, you
And
know?
that's a great topic you just raised because I start to see my mediumship is a reflection of us. The way we read, the way we tune in, the way we sense, it's us. So the more we are able to develop internally, the more we're able to become more authentic, more genuine with our readings. And it doesn't need to be today, Penny, it doesn't need to be tomorrow. And it's you have that free will to move into that space when you're ready, if you want to. If you want to. So it's always, the door is always open. There's a reason why we're all here tonight. It wasn't by coincidence. And I do actually, and of course we know there's no, when we become mediums, there's no coincidences in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead,
I do.
Kay.
So, I did this exercise a couple days ago, and we didn't know exactly what we were asking ourselves, but like we assumed that we are going to read for a client. So, on analyzing all this information about this person, and then after we're done our reflection, the facilitator said, "Now I want you to look at all this paper and all these words that you wrote about this person. And now I want you to realize that it's about you. And I just kind of like was blown away because I didn't realize what today was going to be about. And I realized today, like, I'm grateful for your own point of view about your mediumship, right? Like, you always think you're done reflecting on yourself, and like I never even think about sometimes about my own inner work. And I'm grateful that today you were here today to talk about that. And I don't know, I think the hardest part is doing that hard work on yourself, right? And I'm grateful that you were here today. So
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, mechanics can only take us so far. And I really believe it's 10 or 20% of it. The personal self-development is 80 to 90%. That is the core of mediumship. That is what will make a difference in your readings. That is where people will notice how more, and Pat said it beautifully, authentic, genuine. They will see that. And there's that old philosophy, what is it, 101 psychology? What you see in others, we also have it too.
Yep, they're a mirror. That's very profound, Effie, because I have an incident that I always remember where I met a woman who, I was like, oh my gosh, how can anybody stand her? And I remembered that adage, what you don't like in somebody or what you see in somebody else there's something in you.
Yeah.
And I did that and I went, oh my God, yeah, that's absolutely true. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on that part. And I did. And it's not easy to truly look at yourself.
And not to be afraid. I'm sorry, Christy. Go
Right,
ahead.
right. Not to be afraid, but it's scary. It's hard for us to see those parts, right? But that's why I'm always saying, be kind to yourself, love yourself, radically forgive yourself, radically, because that's what spirit does, right? That's what our higher self does. It's unconditional love.
And as I began to forgive myself inside, it became very natural to forgive others out there who had hurt me.
Yeah,
And it started internally within my own soul. I wanted to be a medium, and that was it.
yeah,
I wanted to be a medium 125%. And I did not want to take a break. I did not want to take a couple months off. And I realized I had to. I really, really had to inside to find
yeah,
out what was going on.
yeah,
And I was really grateful for my mediumship, because if I had not gone into mediumship, maybe I would have had this opportunity to heal inside my wounds. Maybe, I don't know what's happening 10 years. I'm not a fortune teller, but the mediumship brought this up. My development
yeah,
brought this up.
yep, absolutely. For me too. And we continue to learn lessons. So just because right here, right now, we've done this internal work and we're feeling pretty good about ourselves, things are always going to come up. Something just came up for me a couple weeks ago and I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And it hit me hard, and I'm still working on it. So I don't, so be ready. I'm like, I thought I was done with that. Nope, you're never done. And it's okay, because you get to that point where, okay, something happens and it affects you for 5 months. You're kind of stunned and you work through it. But the next time something else happens, it's going to be maybe 5 weeks instead of 5 months. And then you get through that and you go through and then something else comes up. But because you're in this constant place of learning and openness and self-forgiveness, the next time something comes up and you go, whoa, you're going to notice it only took you 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be 5 minutes. And then it's going to be 5 seconds. And then something else is going to blow you out of the water.
And start all over again.
I don't think you'll go to the 5 months, but like this recent thing isn't putting me back 5 months. But I say I know I'm at the 5-week mark for this one so far.
And another one was being okay that I didn't have good readings.
Yeah.
I was the perfectionist. I needed to have
Yeah.
A++ readings. That's what I was aiming for. I needed to have those readings absolutely down to a T, that this is a rock solid reading. And they were not always good readings. We're mediums. We're not going to get 10 out of 10 excellent readings.
That's right.
And I had to become okay with that. But why was I not okay with that?
Yeah.
Why was I not accepting that this was not a good reading? Why was it hitting my core so much? And it wasn't the reading. It was something within my soul, inside me. A lot of good stuff tonight
That was
that has come
beautiful.
up. And this is why this is one of my favorite topics to engage, to talk about, because anything that you're going to be doing within your journey, whichever way it turns into, the personal self-development is to look at that as one of the most key priorities in your unfoldment. To move within that is something that will make a profound shift. And it may not be in mediumship if we have the free will, but it'll make a profound shift within you, inside, to look within you and really discover who you are, why you're here. It could be also finding your potential, what your purpose is in life. But we don't know that until we move into it. Wow. Christy, what a session. What a great, thank you for this too. I did not expect the way it was going to turn out.
Well, it is what it
Yeah.
is, right? And spirit's leading the way. Great topic, one that's near and dear to my heart, Effie. So I really appreciate you being here.